And welcome to the regularly scheduled Village Council meeting on January 24th. It is 7:02 p.m. and we'd like you to join us. Thank you. We'd like to start our evening with a call to order, please. And, Pledge of Allegiance. We have this evening. Would you mind doing it with that?
Me? Sure.
All right, Larry, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next up, Jenny, could you please have the roll call?
Dylas.
Absent.
George.
Present.
Green.
With notice?
Hayden.
Here.
Nivelt.
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Bryce.
Here.
No.
Next up, we do have our approval of the agenda this evening.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented for tonight's January 24th, 2022 meeting.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by Trustee Nivelt, supported by Trustee George. Do we have any questions or comments? All right, Jenna, please.
George.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Nivelt.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 5-0. Next up is the approval of the council minutes from December 20th, 2021. Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the council minutes of December 20th, 2021 as presented.
Support?
We have a motion on the table by Trustee Nivelt, supported by Trustee Hayden. Do we have any questions or comments at this time? Jenna, please.
Hayden.
Yes.
Nivelt.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 5-0. Next up is the acceptance items. This evening includes the Village Treasurer's Report for December 2021 and the revenue and expenditures, which ended December 31st, 2021. Item number 8 is the approval of our disbursements, and we are looking for a motion and support.
Trustee George, I make a motion to accept the village treasurer's report for 2021, the revenue and expenditures, ending December 31st, 2021, and the approval of disbursements of $25,506.
Support?
Thank you. All right, at this time, any questions or comments? Jenna, please.
Nivelt.
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Hayden.
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 5-0. We would like to have public comments at this time that are on agenda items only. Please keep in mind there are 3 minutes per person. We'd love to see you have a turn. If you have any questions for us, anything you'd like to share, any thoughts, keep in mind at this point it's on agenda items only. Later will we have a non-agenda item space as well to hear your concerns or thoughts. Anyone at all?
I just want to thank the council for taking care of this Crossman our water situation. You've accomplished more in a year than previous councils have in several years. So thank you. I know it's not something everybody wants to spend the money on, but it's really needed for the village of Ortonville. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything they'd like to share? Questions? You can't, I know it's doing. All right, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda includes the minutes from the Brandon Township Board meeting, October 4th, the minutes of the Township Board meeting, November 8th, the minutes of the Ortonville Community Historical Society meeting from November 9th, the December attorney invoice, the Planning Commission meeting from December 7th, the Personnel Committee meeting from December 16th, the attorney invoice from January, the minutes of the Wayfinding Subcommittee from January 11th, and the Personnel Committee from January 12th. Looking for a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the table by Trustee Hayden, supported by Trustee Nivelt. At this time, do we have any questions or comments?
I have one question. I know in the Brandon Township board meetings, they refer to the Northwest Oakland Sewer stakeholder meetings that they've been having. Is there any way we can get copies of that? Is that that's one that you're on?
That I've been attending, yes.
Okay, do you have minutes that we could have included? Or do you get minutes? I don't know how they.
I don't think there. I'm happy to give an update. I don't know if there are minutes.
Okay.
Sometimes there's presentations. It's more of a kind of discussion between the communities and the Water Resource Commission and the county executive's office.
Okay, so there's no official minutes that
No.
are taken for those?
I'm happy to discuss that or, provide an update.
Okay, and so what is their sewer subcommittee? Because they've been meeting in that, is that separate?
The township does have they formed a sewer subcommittee
Gotcha, separate.
some time ago that's separate,
Okay.
and they meet, I want to say monthly.
Okay, all right, but that's a whole, that's a separate.
That's separate, yep, and attending the Northwest Oakland County meetings would be just Jason, Supervisor Rumble, and I, as well as De Palma from Groveland and George from Holly.
Okay, yeah, if you could just give verbal updates, that's cool.
I can, yes.
Yes, yeah, that's great,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on any of the consent agenda items? Oh. All right, Jenna, please.
Randazzo,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivelt,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 5-0. Next up is the items from the trustees. We're looking for committee updates and things like that. And if you don't mind, Pat, we'll start on your side.
Yeah, on the Historical Society, I know that there's been a couple items that have been sitting out in limbo for a while. One of those has been a door that meets fire code, and I'm happy to report that Jason has given us an amount, looks good, and he will have that done, I'm going to say, in a timely manner, which will be nice. And hopefully this spring we can get some paint on the old mill. And I'm hoping that is also done on a relatively timely manner. That's pretty much it.
Great. Tony, what about you? Anything you'd like to
Me?
work on?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Fred, I, and Ryan have not met, but in discussing some things with Fred, he would like to be invited to the next meeting. So,
For what meeting? I mean, which meeting you're saying?
oh, our next council meeting.
Okay, perfect. All right.
And I'll get with both of, Ryan and Fred to get something scheduled.
Wonderful.
Can I put something in here? Ryan and I were talking earlier. Can we get a Parks and Rec folder for our minutes into the DOD. Because I couldn't find one. If there is one, I apologize.
It's under the subcommittees, I believe, isn't it? Let me pull it up. There should be one that's subcommittees, and they should all be listed, but without being in there this second, doesn't.
I mean,
mean
if
there's
there isn't, because I was referring to like the IT has one.
I'm not sure.
But if we
Yeah,
can do that.
that's definitely an easy way to.
Okay.
You know, as you can see, we've organized a lot over
Yeah.
the last year and trying to get things like
Yeah.
from where people thought they would be to where they go.
Mhm.
And so we've been working on that a lot, but,
Yeah.
you know, we have much better qualified people that work well with technology, so we're working on that, but that's definitely a good question.
Thank you.
So the folder, okay, thank you very much. Anything else right now?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you. Larry, would you like to next?
Yeah, IT committee, we haven't met yet, but I definitely want to plan on meeting early February. And I've already got some agenda items lined up. Speaking of which, Tony, since you have a suggestion related to the layout on the site, can you email me that so I don't forget that, to cover that at the IT meeting?
Yeah, it was on the DOD though. That was it.
Yeah, but
Okay. Yeah.
that's still information technology because it's
Yeah,
data we
okay.
maintain on site. So I definitely want to include that and make sure that any layout improvements we can do for how we have our documentation and information available, I think is something I want to make sure that we cover on those meetings. Personnel, I'll give personnel policy the personnel committee update, I guess, since I think we said Kay would be doing that, but she's not here, so I'll go ahead and fill in. We did have a personnel committee meeting. We had both the old members and the new members invited, kind of like a handoff of the topics. And as you saw in the meeting minutes, there were several topics that we had discussed that we need to continue with and move forward on. We also have a topic that will be discussed tonight, which is the manager's review coming up in February. So that's going to be a separate agenda item, so I won't get into that. But if anybody has any questions from the personnel minutes that we submitted, I'd be happy to answer them right now. And if not, then I think that's basically it from me for committee updates.
Thank you very much. All right, Melanie, how about you, please?
For wayfinding, we have not met yet, but should be soon. For Heritage Garden, we are meeting in February with Oakland County. Planning Commission, we are still, copies of the minutes, but we are still in the process of the master plan, going through its so many days. If you have anything that you wanted to speak to Ryan about, please do so. If you've looked through it, you have questions or concerns, now's the time to do that with the master plan with Ryan. We did actually Ryan prepared a Planning Commission annual report. First time we've done that. That is supposed to be part of our charge every year. So thank you for getting us on track.
I had lots of help.
Yeah, but I just love that we're doing the right procedures and processes as we go along. So I love that about this council and about our village manager. So I'm not really sure what else.
Trails?
Oh, we're pulling together for the trails. I'm not sure we'll have this at our next meeting, but we are pulling together the maps, some suggestions on funding and getting organizations together. Anyways, all the information to do with the trails and our suggestions of where they should go will be coming in front of council, but I don't want to say we'll have that prepared at the next meeting because I'm not sure if we will. So hopefully, I mean, that's our goal, to get it going. So that way come spring, we can start rocking. It's worked on, it's moving, it's good.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. All right, and for DDA update, many of you were involved on January 13th when they had their annual review. Came through and passed all 10 areas with flying colors. Definitely appreciate all of the input given and all of the support for DDA on a daily basis, but not only that, at the annual review. It's very important to see all the points of view. I know Pat was able to be there with the businesses. Is that the time? Yeah.
The businesses.
And that's always
the
really
trustees.
interesting.
There'll be
to-
elected officials.
I thought you came both. No. Okay, I'm sorry. That was somebody else who went with it. But it's really interesting to see their point of view, to see the elected officials' point of view, obviously to see DDA. So it's really nice to get all that input, what other people see, hear, and think as well, too, and it's a great opportunity to do that. So thank you very much for all of those who supported. Like I said, they passed absolutely amazing, always because of Matt and the wonderful person we have to keep everybody organized and in charge. So that was that. The other, we met this morning. We don't have that annual review either, and it will be coming to us, and you will get a copy, but it's not compiled and sent yet, just the score. So keep an eye out for that. But the other thing this morning that we discussed is the Main Street Awards. Put that on your calendar. You will be getting information on it, but that's May 5th. And that's always a fun night. Larry has attended and enjoyed it. Main Street Awards down in Pontiac.
Yes.
And unfortunately, last year they did not hold it. So this is your chance to do something really fun. You can get all spiffy, you can have some good food, and you can see what other communities are doing, get good ideas, and brag about what our community does. And if you're lucky,
Where's it
stand
at?
on stage with an award.
Where's it that?
What's
Theater in
the
Pontiac.
center at the Phoenix? Not, or you know,
Strand?
Strand
Yeah,
in Pontiac. I was like, what's the theater's name?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
May 5th.
Cinco
May
de Mayo.
5th, okay.
Cinco de Mayo.
And like I said, it is Cinco de Mayo. I'm like, what is the theme this year? Because they always have fun
De Mayo.
themes. And,
De
but
Mayo.
you will get official invite from DDA. I'm just saying, throw it on your calendar and be available because it's a fun night. You can even bring somebody you might like too with you. So just keep that in mind. And again, thank you for the support and everything you guys do to support them. That's all I have right now. So, is Ryan, anything you wanted to add at that point
Yes.
for RRC?
I'll add RRC is meeting later this week. I think Wednesday. Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday.
And then the Streets Committee is also meeting with Ed Hugg from SEMCOG. He was here in the fall to do the PACER rating for all of our roads, so we're going to get more info and try to get a plan of attack of prioritizing which roads first and that kind of thing before we then talk with our engineer about what the cost of each of those projects will look like. So it's the first step in putting some of the biggest pieces into our capital improvement plan. So that'll be later this week with the Streets Committee.
Nice. Thank you very much. Anything else you can think of that we didn't?
I think we ran the gambit there, yeah.
I think so. So we've been moving along, even though it's only January. We like it. Thank you, everybody. All right. Next up this evening is the unfinished business. And the first item on our list is Crossman Park Phase 2. Could nothing come any better timing?
Actually, yeah, I think it is great timing to be thinking about the park. So you'll find your packet contains the plans for completing the Crossman Park storm drain outlet system, as well as 2 other items. It's a very big project. It's one I'm very excited to talk about, and let's work to complete this big project. First phase was completed in 2021. It brought the water out of Crossman Park into the catch basins in the kind of parking lot of the Brandon Township offices. I'm sure you're familiar with that, and I'm sure you're familiar with the hoses from the pump that come from that catch basin, and the water then is pumped out of the parking lot and then right down Mill Street. You see the water flowing, you see the hoses through the parking lot all summer long anytime we get any little bit of rain. This project will address those issues. So Crossman Park is the low point that collects a lot of water for the village for at least the 4-block radius, the rectangle around it. So a lot of water collects there. So far, the first phase has addressed a lot of the water. There's a lot of water that sits in that catch basin. If you ever look in, you'll see that the water table is very high there, and water is right there, even when it's not being pumped. But this second phase will get the water from the township parking lot all the way to the creek. So the plans are in the digital version of your packet. They're also up there on the stage if you want to take a look. On the big paper copies, I brought my engineer's ruler, so if you want to measure stuff, feel free. They're up there. Your packet contains the quote from Diamond Excavating for an amount of $286,584. DPW Supervisor Hawkswell and I met with Mr. Diamond and Pat McWilliams, our engineer from Kieft, on December 22nd to discuss the quote and the project and the timelines. You'll see on his quote that he sent it to us in the fall, and I was thinking this was a spring or summer project. He made me realize that this would be best addressed in the winter when the ground is frozen, so that we don't have to pay a lot of money for dewatering as they go, because the water will be frozen. So to avoid that cost, to do it while water is not an issue, Mr. Diamond is interested in pursuing this project in February. So if approved, he would get started very quickly on this project. The reason for the $325,000 ask tonight is explained in the letter from our engineer. He explains that there are contingencies and things like that are a pretty normal, 10% or so is pretty normal on a project like this, to just in case there are cost overruns or anything like that. I've spoken with Township Supervisor Rumble, as well as several business owners and residents to see, reactions, how people feel about addressing this. It's a big project, and what that's going to look like, and have received a lot of positive support. A lot of people saying, let's do it in February, instead of waiting until summer when things are crazy. So, if approved, this project would take up to 3 weeks to complete, closing the north side of Mill Street to traffic. After it's complete, Mill Street will be drivable and plowable, so it'll be returned to a not quite perfect asphalt state for the short term. But until weather warms, it'll be drivable, plowable, and then once it's warm, it'll be finished and be very nice. So I recommend that the Village Council approve the quote from Diamond Excavation for the Village of Ortonville storm drain outlet system for up to $325,000.
All right, thank you very much. What we are looking for is a motion and support.
I would like to make a motion for Diamond Excavating LLC to use the storm drain outlet system not to exceed $325,000.
Support?
Support.
I just did, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have
My
a
bad.
motion on the table by Trustee Nivell, supported by President Bryce. Do we have any questions, comments, or discussion at this time?
I do. I'm just trying to figure this out. It's really hard for me to read this. The Keith engineering letter, overall, it's got the 320,000. Is that,
Yep.
is that adding to this, or is that, do we add these numbers together?
No, so the total being 325 is 320 for the project, and then 5,000 to cover necessary construction testing of the pipe trench backfill in the pavement base.
Oh, I see.
It's compaction. With as much water as we have in the village, it's always an issue. There's always settling after you dig. We've seen it on every project we've ever done. And so that 5,000 is to test it as we go. So rather than wait until the end and the hole settles for a while, we'll test compaction it's not a perfect science, but it is an effort to address that as we go.
Okay, thank you.
That's what brings it up to 325.
Okay.
I have a question regarding the asphalt. I know you're saying final asphalt to be placed in late spring, so this cost does not include the final?
It does include the final.
It does?
Yes.
Great. Okay, good.
Is that just gonna be the north lane is gonna get re-asphalted?
Ideally, it's the entire thing, but depending on costs. And ideally, it's from the intersection with South Street all the way to the creek. the entire road.
Okay.
But that's part of why there's a little buffer in the cost of, if it does end up costing closer to the 286, then there would be money in the 325 to asphalt the entire section of Mill Street. Otherwise, it'll just be the north side that's been torn up.
And will there still be a part of the driveway that they go into as well?
Yeah,
correct?
access will be maintained to, especially the township office, but to all the businesses along the way. The up to 3 weeks means that they'll be digging and placing and filling and as they go, so it won't all be torn up the whole time. But it will be, to driving vehicles, it will be closed for that whole 3 week time, except for access to businesses.
And how were the business owners, especially like the pizza place, and were they all?
The pizza place is not affected, so it's just on the west side of Mill Street, from
Perfect.
the intersection, from the
From the
flashing light
intersection.
going west to the creek.
West, beautiful.
Yep.
So it's really the
Mary
township
Ellen.
pub in Mary Ellen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All of whom I've spoken with in the last week or so, and all supportive of doing it now rather than later.
Yes, yeah, all right, great, thank you for doing that.
May not be convenient, but I'm sure it will be happy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Brian,
And,
is there any way I can see a picture of Crossman Park, the way it looks now and the way it will look after?
Crossman Park won't be nothing's gonna change in the park with this phase. So it's just gonna start at that, in the parking lot, there's 2 catch basins. So it'll start at the westernmost one. If you're walking down the sidewalk next to the pub, it's the one that's straight in front of you. So it'll start there. It'll actually end. They'll start at the creek and work their way uphill.
So-
But it'll be from there to the creek.
So no trees or animals will be adversely impacted?
That is correct.
No, remember when we did phase 1, we actually were able to save one of the trees that we were concerned about
That was good.
and only take down the one, so that was awesome.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. First of all, I know we have we did some streetscape with some pavers and stuff. Are those gonna be restored back to, be in place after the whole project's done?
Pavers are a point of contention between Mr. Diamond, Bob, and myself. We all kind of want different things with them. They do create some issues when plowing and things like that. So there's pros and cons. We will restore the streetscape as is the plan. But while it's taken apart, we may consider some changes of replacing the bricks with concrete, and it might be a stamped concrete or there's some other alternatives that are easier to maintain than brick.
Okay,
So open to discussion.
But we will try to preserve the character of the
Exactly.
streetscape at least.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Good question.
I just wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna just lose that, because we put a lot of money in that many years ago. Another question I do see, and it looks like this is going to be the case, but I just want to confirm, it looks like there's gonna be 3 manhole covers now in Mill Street, but they will be centered on the traffic lane, not offset onto where the wheels would be running. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's always annoying when I'm going through Clarkston down one of those roads, and you have those manhole covers that are right smack in the middle of the wheel lane, and you hit those things, and so I'm much happier that they're centered on ours.
Yeah, we've been talking about manholes and manhole placement. They're more catch basins than manholes, so there are some different requirements and things, but yeah, we'll make sure they're well placed.
Okay.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Well, it looks
We
like
ready
they have
for a
pretty
vote?
thorough engineering plans, so that's good.
Yeah.
Larry, ready?
Hmm?
Good? Are we ready for a vote? All right, Jenna, please.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you, that motion carries 5-0.
And it's very
Ryan,
exciting.
we appreciate you sticking with us to the end. We're almost there.
I'll speak with Mr. Diamond probably as early as tomorrow morning. We'll be eager to get started.
Excellent. All right, next up is our new business. And the first item is the second manager evaluation. Ryan, do you want to start us off at all, or do you want to head it over to someone?
I'll turn it over to the personnel committee.
All right.
Okay, well, I guess that would be kind of me. at the moment. So basically what we did is we discussed about the village manager review, and we talked about some of the lessons learned from the last one, with such as instructions for people on filling it out. And I also know in past councils there was a desire to have closed sessions, and it was discussed that that is not legal or correct according to Open Meetings Act. So what we are looking at here is to do the same type of a process, but just update the instructions in the review that we send out to add a section that basically states that we're going to ask people not to fill out a section if they don't have good knowledge on that question. So that it's better to leave it blank than try to fill something in if you don't know. To that, you can see that that was a suggestion to add that into the instructions on the first page. And then also remove the two places where it mentions closed sessions and just say a meeting, and leave off the closed session meeting. And other than that, we're going to be using the same evaluation form. So that's what the suggestion was from the committee. We also talked about how to distribute that, and we said we wanted to have it go to all members of the village council, all members of village staff, all members of the planning commission, because all three of those bodies and groups all have direct interaction with the village manager, the DDA president, and the village manager for self-evaluation. The reason only the DDA president, Matt would be included because he's staff, but the DDA president because the rest of the DDA board are just volunteers, so we thought maybe it was more appropriate just to give to just the president of the DDA. We are proposing to send out the evaluations by January 28th and ask for them to all be returned by February 11th to the Personnel Committee. Probably ask them to come to me because I'm going to be tabulating the results, and have all the results tabulated by February 16th in time prior to a Personnel Committee meeting to review those results on February 16th, and then have the council review at the council meeting on February 28th. So that was our proposal for handling the village manager review. I noticed you had added on another page of recipients and had some other people listed. Did you add that?
That was by mistake. That was my bad. That's because I made the packet and didn't make it very well. That page wasn't supposed to be there. My bad.
Okay. So we're not planning on including. I think we had said that we would not be including this time around Lieutenant Glover or Chief Quapis or the township, because they don't really interact as directly or as frequently with the village manager. We thought it would be better to limit it to more of the village entities, so to speak. So that's the proposal, and I guess we just need to get consensus on council to proceed in this fashion then, if that's okay.
Larry, did you mention Director Jenkins would be part of the village staff?
Who? Matt
Matt.
Jenkins? Yes.
Oh, okay,
He is an employee of the village because he's, we
Okay.
pay him. He's on a salary.
All right.
So, from DDA, it would be going to the DDA president and to the DDA director, because the DDA director is considered part of staff.
Officially, they're paid for by DDA as a DDA staff member. They
Yeah.
just use office space officially. They use our treasurer, but they're not officially staff per se.
So maybe
But,
we
yes,
should change
I know where you're coming from.
Yes.
But just to keep it separate,
Well, that's
legalized.
what we discussed at the personnel meeting, is that Matt would be included as part of staff, even though he's DDA staff.
Gotcha. Perfect.
And if that makes more sense to put a DDA president and DDA director, we can do that, because that,
Yeah.
I understand.
Just in case.
Yeah, then we can make it,
Because they do
we can
pay to
explicitly
use
specify
The
that.
facility and Bath, it is
Right.
distinction,
Yes.
where your tax money's going.
Yes,
That's my only concern.
because that is from DDA. I
Just in case.
think that's more correct.
But I think both the DDA president and DDA director both would give valuable insights.
I think it's important.
Oh, yeah.
That
it's
works very
important,
closely
it's
with
just-
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way it's worded.
Yep,
Like I said, just simply move them.
yep.
Okay.
But we did want to make the distinction, I know we talked about it, that Courtney is the president of DDA, and you would therefore go to her first, and I think that's why he kind of got moved, to ensure that Courtney is Matt's boss. Yeah, or the board is, but anyway.
Larry, I've got two questions. So one, from this point forward, assuming Ryan stays with us for a good number of years, this will be an annual review? This will be done once a year? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have a motion yet.
I'm just discussing
Do we
it.
need a motion? I think we just need to
I'm just still
A motion?
discussing it.
say if we have any
Discussing it.
concerns, there's no motion needed, unless personnel would like one specific.
I don't think it necessarily needs a motion, other than we were just looking to make sure that personnel can proceed in this manner. So.
I think you guys are doing great on the road.
Yeah,
So it's
well,
fit.
Larry, the other thing too, in regards to Lieutenant Glover and Chief Wapish, were they at least asked if they would like to answer it, or do we just assume that they don't want to? Because I know if I was in that position, I would want to. I think, Ryan, do you feel that you have enough contact, enough exposure to those people, or would you feel uncomfortable with
For
that
the,
judging?
I do have quite a bit of contact with both of those guys, but they both have their own staff and things they're doing. We included them the last time, and they both provided a little bit of comment, but didn't want to go through the whole process with us.
I can
And
see where they would
I think
not,
to
yeah.
respect that decision, we did not include them this time.
Okay, yeah, because I can see where they would not want to go through, I don't want to go through the whole process.
Yeah, and I
So,
think,
I can see where they wouldn't either.
I think,
But
Tom,
at least
you
if
can-
they could make a comment, a general comment, that's all.
yeah, you can validate this too. I don't think that we included them in the past in previous village manager reviews,
Correct.
did we?
And not to point figure, Ryan specifically requested, hey, can, we get input and see how I'm doing, and, he wants, room for improvement, whatever. But, like you said, I believe what we got from both of them was an email
Okay.
that specifically said no concerns at this time, doing great. So, absolutely on board, and do we think it's changed in a few months? No, or, they would have well been able to reach out to us, and both of them do, and so there's, like you say, kind of no reason to, I think Ryan's passing.
The last thing I have, Larry, I know the last time we discussed evaluation of Ryan, it was done in this kind of a public forum, and I would think, Jenna, it probably was discussed for a good half hour. Yeah, or more. Yeah, so I still find it. I'm almost stunned that this would not be better handled in a closed session. On a lot of personnel matters, right? I can request a closed session if I was an employee or something like that.
Well, the way Open Meetings
Ryan,
Act,
if you had, I'm just curious on this. If you had your druthers, you want to hear how well we think of you in public, or that is an open meeting versus merely sitting down in a closed session where we can discuss things with you.
I don't have a strong preference, which is, for better or worse, why we've had those conversations in open meetings.
But just keep in mind, with Open Meetings Act, he has to request a closed session if the information is about him. You can't go into closed session about him. He has to request
yes,
it.
and that's what I was
That's what
going to
I guess
say.
I'm leading up to. I know if I was in Ryan's position, I would.
Well, that's what I was going to
He
say.
can request it anytime he wants.
Yeah, we cannot specify a closed session because it's a personnel matter. We have to schedule it, and if there's going to be a quorum,
That's
it
fine.
has to be an open meeting. But if it's a personnel matter and the person who is being discussed requests it, then they can request a closed
That's
session.
fine.
But we cannot
Okay.
specify a closed session on our part.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just to
But
make
if,
sure.
if Ryan decided he wanted to do a closed session, then he could request that, and we would honor that, of course.
Question. I just got a question.
And just real quick though, before we move on with that,
Oh, sure.
and that's for good or bad reasons. Some people in interviewing, their current company doesn't know they're interviewing, so they
Yeah,
request it.
yeah.
Some people know they're going to get in trouble and they, they don't want to do it public. There's good and bad reasons to protect you, but there's also good and bad reasons to make it open too. is to ensure that, it's fair for everybody. So I think, like I said, it's all on Ryan's shoulders.
They're
so.
watching you.
But anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tony.
And I just want to go back, when I was on personnel and we were doing that sheet, one of the problems that we had, and I know you already addressed it, people were putting down something because they thought they had to put something. When, if I remember that sheet, wasn't there a list, or a set like 1 through 5? Wasn't there something that we said here, vote 1, or put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? But we never put anything in there as an A, which would mean not applicable. I think there was a 0 in there because I think having the word NA in place of a 0 would be, so if you guys can talk about that in the next meeting, to add an NA, a 0, and then 1 through whatever.
Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay.
I think that we can.
I mean, it's just a suggestion that, thank you.
Does everybody agree with that suggestion?
That's fine.
Okay. I'll
I
make
think when
note
you
of
look at
that.
the scoring, it can make a big difference if it's an I'm not sure or an A.
Then you have the satisfaction of checking something in
Yeah,
every
I
single
mean, at
line.
least this way too, if they are writing or putting a 0 down because, they didn't think you did a good job, then you can count the 0 as part, and the NA, you just wouldn't count that question in for an average, so.
Yeah, I definitely like keeping the 1 to 5 in the NA. Pat, anything?
It's good.
Anything else for personnel to take back with them on this idea before we move on? Did you guys have any other questions for us that you wanted to know before you do it?
Looking forward to it.
If I may say one more thing, Ryan, I wanted to thank you for, as a time that I was on personnel, it was fun, chit-chatting with you and going over things, so I appreciated that.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. And we will move on to item number 2, which is the Subcommittee for Volunteer Recognition. And we will start again with Brian on that.
I'll let you start, actually.
You want me to start? on
Yes,
that?
please.
We can change the scope. Do you want to hear the scope change?
Well,
So-
sure.
Yeah, I guess I can start that. We had a couple ideas for volunteer recognition and other ideas and how to tie them together and things like that. I think the best ideas came from the conversation that Trustee Nivelt had with Matt and Courtney from the
Yes.
DDA, so.
Yeah, it was good. All right, so, because we were trying to not step on other people's toes and not allow it to get too big, and all these things were playing part. And we have this little brainstorming session, and we came up with this idea. All right, you guys tell me what you think. Each month we would acknowledge an organization, so not individuals, an organization, for their work and volunteerism that they provide for the village. So, for example, let's say May is Historical Prevention Month. The county has all, fire prevention month and historical. So May is Historical Prevention Month. That would be a great time to recognize the Historical Society, the Old Mill, and those organizations that help provide and volunteer their services. So each month, it would be a different organization. So we're not picking out individuals, and we're thanking the groups as a whole. So we thought maybe that would be a better way to approach this, and also to do it with, since we start May, June to start our budget for our fiscal year, lay out at that time the 12 months and what each month is as far as what prevention or, whatever it may be.
Organization.
I'm not even sure. I started Googling that, and there is something for every day of the month. I mean, so, that's yet to be determined. And then plan that ahead, so the organization organizations would know, hey, in December, we're recognizing your group, or in January, we're recognizing your group. So that was the idea so far. That's it.
Okay.
All right, that's it in a
Well,
nutshell.
that will be, in my opinion, for the committee to decide and how they want to represent it and whatever and do. I think what we're working on first is who would like to be a part of that and kind of create a vision to bring back to us to decide. And I'll throw in my 2 cents. Also, kind of for what, a year and a half in the background has been the works of, as well, a new resident evening event, something along that lines. With that thought in mind, when the volunteer recognition came around again, was how about this committee group does the one event one point and the other event the other point. So you're kind of, working on those 2 things during the year or whatever. So I guess we can decide to join them together, do them separate, whatever, if you don't feel that that's something to combine. But other communities that do the new resident thing usually do an evening or afternoon or whatever on the weekend, and have prizes from the community donated to kind of get them to know what the new businesses are and things like that. Have a little reception, and the goal is for them to get to know each other, provide them what's in town, things like that. So the discussion was possibly this summer of doing that at the farmer's market on a Saturday. Again, it was a thought. So if that's something that we would like to, as a group, push our committee to work together or keep separate or whatever, it's up to you guys. But that was just an additional thought at the same time.
But the new resident thing, no, I see that as being a total DVA initiative.
It's for the village. The village is hosting it. You are in our community. This is what our community does.
Okay.
And it's in every community that I know of that does it, the government entity does it.
Okay.
And sure, DDA can be a part of it, absolutely. But your volunteers, like say the Lions and the Masons and all, hey, welcome to our group, and they kind of have a table, and everybody gets a chance. The library's there, blah blah blah. So the DDA would kind of want to be there,
Yeah.
representing themselves and
That would
doing,
be a great place to get volunteers.
Right. So that's kind of, the thought behind that, and then I'm stemming from, and you've got your volunteer recognition, So in my head, I'm thinking, well, you can only work on one if it was once a year, and then you can work on the other if it's as well, and you've got, say, 6 months for each item to work on it, whatever.
Are you thinking the new resident thing, is that like a once a year? Because I don't know how
Yes.
many new residents we get.
Yep, they do it once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, if that was the case, you chose to do it in the summerish farmer's market or whatever, if you want to do the other monthly versus once a year, I think that's a lot different. But then that was my question: are you really going to do that once a month, or are you going to do it all at one time once a year and recognize everybody together, versus, first and last, and
Yeah.
Well,
who
I
goes
mean-
when, and putting that effort in every single month?
It's a big group if we do that one time with the volunteers. And it was starting to just snowball as we started going down a list of, well, what about this organization? And I thought, this is getting a little more than what I think we wanted to do. Whereas if it was the monthly, just, thanking the organization, they come in, we thank them, and, give their certificates or whatever it may be. And it's a little bit more controllable. I just, that's my opinion. It's
Right.
not this big, to do thing. And one thing that Matt and Courtney, they kept emphasizing when we were talking, we want to make sure it's not the individual, it's the group or the organization is what we want to focus on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my thought on that, because I think I was thinking kind of a little in between, is I think monthly might be too much, because if you do something every month, it's just, I think that's gonna be a little bit too much.
Mhm.
But I think more than once a year, it might be appropriate because of the number of volunteers we have in the community. So I was wondering if something like maybe quarterly might be more appropriate, because that way you could have things,
And it's still not too.
yeah, it's not too big, but it puts a little separation so that it becomes something that might get more people there. Because once a month, people are just gonna not
Yeah.
show up.
No, I like that idea too.
Okay.
I like quarterly. It's even
So,
Makes it easier, more doable, and like you said,
Yeah.
a little more.
Yeah, because we do have a lot of
details.
volunteers, and I can see it'd be overwhelming trying to recognize everybody in one
Well,
event.
it's just the group, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that makes it easier too, so not, yeah.
I mean, being on we did have a recognition for first responders and such, and we were invited to attend that at the football field. At
Oh, at one of the games?
Yeah, one of the
And-
games
yeah.
there, and that was really nice. But it was several groups there, because you had the
Yeah.
firefighters, you had the police guys there, you had a CERT team there, so it was a big event to do, and that was just first responders. you know.
Yeah.
So I know
but
it's a
keep
lot
in
of
mind,
work.
it's village.
Yes.
I know we do have police, but I'm just thinking, we only have 3 police officers.
But we have a fire
And there's-
department,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, so,
and we have
versus
lots of
the town.
volunteer groups.
yes.
We do.
All right, so I guess my thought is that the committee needs to work on those ideas and bring them back to us, correct?
Well, do you want them separate things?
Well, I
see
think
them as
you guys can
separate.
decide as a committee if you feel that that's too much at one time or separate, or how you're gonna design. Like I said, if you're gonna hold one event, you don't work 12 months on an event. But if you're gonna hold it monthly, you're gonna work every month on an event. So I think you're gonna kind of have to feel that out, and decide whether that's something that the committee would like to do both of or separate, and that's perfectly fine either way. So who, besides the fact that we don't have 2 of us here, obviously, that also can be added at any point in time too. Anybody here interested in being part of that volunteer recognition committee?
Well, of course I would be, since I brought it up, the idea, and suggested it.
I like it, Melanie. So it's group recognition as opposed to individual. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think quarterly
I like that too.
is real good too.
Yeah, I like quarterly.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Anyone else?
Yeah, me.
You would like to too?
Yeah. My only thing with the quarterly thing, because then you're getting into winter time, January, February, March, that's a quarter. October, November, December, that's another quarter. I think if we did it once in springtime, once towards the end, like Septemberfest time, I think that would be great, because there's a lot of people that, go to the Septemberfest, that could be worked into that. But just my thoughts on that. But the, who's currently working on this, Mel?
Well, it was brought up, and I was going to do letters. I had the letters prepared, and then I had conversations with Matt and Courtney. After I talked with Ryan about some of the things, so there was, when I brought it up, it was I didn't want a committee. I was just going to bring up the idea and then get those council members to help with whatever we ended up deciding on. So the committee idea is time, so that.
Okay, that's fair.
It's not necessarily mine. It's if we are going to do something representing the village, that I think we need to be a consensus. I think Ryan should be involved as well. I think staff should be, asked to be involved. I think it should be something done by the village, not by any one of us independently, no matter what.
Well, I
If
see
the
it more
village
as
is represented.
village as staff, and that's why I didn't think a committee should be on it. Once we got it rolling, I think it's a village staff, Village of Ortonville manager staff that can handle it, but if you
Well, that's
wanna do it-
perfectly fine. Everybody can decide that as a consensus. If people don't want to be on a committee, we don't want a committee, I'm perfectly fine with that. I was simply making sure that it's a unified village.
Right, and that's when I brought it up, and it was, for this council, to be able to start something to recognize and say thank you and be appreciative, so it needs to start someplace, and I think this is the right council to do that with.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mel.
So, I guess where does everybody stand? What would you like to see as the beginning of that?
what would you like to see? I mean, I think we're set based on what I've heard, right?
What, you guys,
There's obviously some details, fine tuning that has to be done, but I think the overall concept is real good.
Yeah, I kind of like either quarterly or even, as Tony said, maybe biannually, something like that. But, you know, a schedule that would not overwhelm us with too many events, but have more than one a year, I think.
Melanie, when you thought of this, what was what was going through your mind when you thought about it? You know, like a one-time thing, or you know?
I thought it could be an annual thing at first, but then when I started actually doing the list and talking to people about, you know, library, and you know, it's surprising how many groups are out there that, and I thought, well, this is getting too big. But I'll be honest with you, the first thought was because our DDA, Matt and Courtney, do so much, and you know, they have to get volunteers and retain volunteers, which is very hard. And they can thank their volunteers, but there's no one that ever thanks them. And then I thought of CERT, which you and Larry happen to be on, and I thought, no one ever thanks them. So it just became, you know, we should let these people and organizations know that we appreciate it. We see you. We recognize you're doing this. And there's nothing in place to do that. So it was just this brainstorming thing that can change. And, you know, like tonight, it's even getting better as we talk about it. So that's all. It was just a way, how do we thank people?
Yeah. Now, my other question on this, if there's not a committee, then, and I'm going to use the word group as not being a committee, that group can't request any type of funds for awards to give out, right? Do we have to be a committee in order to request that?
No, but, I mean, we have to decide whether we're going to contribute any funds to that.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful on what we legally can do with what type of things we can do in terms of purchasing something that could be considered a gift. Yeah, so, yeah, I know, that's why I was thinking about that, because I saw that in there, and we do gotta be a little careful that we don't cross the line when we're spending village funds on something like that.
Right. And that's why
But I think I heard you
just doing
say
certificates.
collecting donations for it, you know, for recognition, and I thought that was, so I think that's a good way to approach that aspect of it.
Well, could we like maybe first just have a get together, toss some ideas around, and bring them
Sure,
back?
and well, that's why I thought maybe at budget time, when we start our budget, if council likes the idea of doing this as a council, then we say, okay, let's allocate for this year,
Okay.
you know, $100 or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that way, if we do certificates or, you know, whatever the appropriate funding that we can do, when Ryan would have to make sure, you know, tell us, yeah, we can't spend it on that, or, but just, you know, to allocate something for the fiscal year.
I mean, if you have any time between tomorrow and the 1st, you know, we can get together. Have
I'll talk to anybody anytime. If you want to do a committee, do a committee. I mean,
Well, it's just when you brought it up, Kay would like to, Tony would like to, I would like to, you would like to.
Yes.
So it's definitely an interest that we have. We would like to do that together. We have to be careful how many people are
Right.
together in a room and what you're talking about.
yes.
You can choose to get paid or not get paid. That is not what my concern is. My concern is that you have multiple people on a council working on a project that's important. Therefore, you have to watch what you're doing legally. That's why I said you have a committee, you have the minutes, you bringing that back to council. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody can give input. That's where I'm coming from, for the village
And
standpoint.
see, and I don't want this to be, and this is here, but you guys know how I feel about this. I sure wouldn't want anyone taking pay.
And that's perfectly fine, you don't have to.
Just wouldn't.
But you have to document, and like I said, when everybody wants to be involved, you know, just have to make sure it's on board and, you know,
Yeah.
everybody's available. It's that simple. And I know there's a lot of people who want to be involved. I don't, like I said, he's the only one I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him either way. But I know Kay mentioned it, you mentioned it, I mentioned it
Yeah.
when it was brought up last month, which is why we wanted it on here, just to do and then run with it and bring all the information back to council and kind of get a vision.
Okay, so if we direct it through the village offices, I don't know, would that be an easier way to at least get the information through so that a committee, we're not worried about a quorum?
Does this mean you want Ryan to?
No, I don't. I don't want them to have to do anything. I don't want them to tell me.
Well, I think the
But
village
I'm
office-
just bringing it up. I don't know if that's an easier way, or I can meet with people, I can meet with each one of you and get the information. I mean,
Well,
whatever you guys want.
when it comes to having
Second round.
a committee, I mean, even if you had 4 council members on a committee, that's still okay as long as the committee meetings are, as long as the committee meetings are published as public meetings. Because according to Open Meetings Act, you can have the committee meeting with more than a quorum of council as long as it's published as an open meeting and it's announced and the public's invited to participate.
It's almost like a workshop evening.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
Budget
workshop, yeah.
Right.
So that's not a problem. I know we ran into that with planning commission when we were looking at something one time with the chicken ordinance, I think it was, where we said, okay, well, if we're gonna have a quorum, we just have to make sure we publish it as a public
Right.
meeting and then this and that and the other,
And
yeah.
we did that with Rick walking in the park.
Yeah.
If more than one council
Yeah.
member wants to
So,
join
I
me,
mean-
it's, you know, everybody was giving.
Why don't
It's
we
not
do
a
it that
problem.
way, that way?
It's not a problem. We just have to make sure that if there is more than a quorum, that we publish the notice appropriately, and then we
I
can
think
have the
that would be a
committee.
good way to do it. What do you guys think? What do you think, Tim?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I will work to schedule I'll send out a doodle poll or something similar to schedule a workshop to plan a volunteer recognition event and other things.
That sounds good.
And then send it out to everybody then.
And then that way we're
Bring our
doing
visions.
it legally and everyone can help.
All right. Any other questions, comments at this time? All right, look for more information. Next up is the marijuana lawsuit. We'll start with Ryan on that one, please.
Yes, your packet contains a resolution. It's a 2-page resolution from our attorney concerning the marijuana lawsuit. As discussed, it will be on an upcoming ballot. Our attorney on our behalf has met with opposing counsel. They've identified the August 2nd election as their preferred date. And in order to get this on the ballot, we need a resolution from the village council stating that. About halfway down the first page there, it includes the ballot language. So right under marijuana establishments ordinance, the ballot language will read, "Shall the village adopt an ordinance, the full text of which is on file with the village clerk?" Sidebar, there's also copies up at the front and back of the room. Pursuant to Section 6 of the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, to wit, an ordinance to be known as the Adult Use Marijuana Establishments Ordinance, to provide for a number of adult use marijuana establishments to be operated within the village, and which ordinance would repeal ordinance number 70 of 2019. So it would contain that ballot language for the voters on the August ballot, pending village council approval of this resolution, which I recommend.
Is there supposed to be a question mark after the 20?
Yes, because it's a ballot question. Shall the village adopt?
Okay.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve the resolution as submitted. Do we have a resolution number on that? Resolution number 2022 dash,
It will be filled in upon approval,
okay.
as well as the date.
Did you specify? Did you specify for marijuana?
Yeah, Do I need to be any more specific in
Would you
my
like to
motion?
specify what the resolution is? The marijuana?
Resolution submitting the question of initiated ordinance.
Because there's no number specifically.
Yeah,
It's up to you.
I make a motion to approve the resolution submitting the question of initiated ordinance to the village electors as presented.
Thank you. Do you have support?
I want to discuss it, but.
All right, I will support that for discussion. Do you have any questions or comments at this time, Pat?
I know, Ryan, I've talked to you about this before. My current thinking now is, my big thing would be is if we're going to a vote, I'd like to get as many people voting on this as we can. What really, the time difference, I'm talking where you get to the group, the citizens group that wants this. I don't really know why they would not be willing to just, at this point in time, just take it out to the November election, as opposed to having a special election in August.
It's not, well, it's not a special election.
Yeah, it's a primary election,
That's a primary for governors.
so it is a
Okay,
regular
all right, I see what
election.
you're saying in that regard. But I'm just saying again, that my general thought is on this, on something I think that's this important to the village. I would want as many people voting on this as possible. And that would be a November 3rd election, not a primary. That's all.
Well, keep in mind, this was their choice, not the village's,
For-
as to when. And the judge agreed to the next regular election, which is
Understand
actually
that.
the May one. They chose to hold off until August.
Yeah, I understand.
So that was their decision, and they were granted the right to decide when. So, what are we going to do? Go to court and fight them again on it? Or are we going to do our part and honor what was requested of us? It's not our decision to make.
I'm just
And
looking
I
at
also
it- I'm just
think-
looking at it from the standpoint of what I think is the fairest vote as far as getting what really is the people's choice. And I just know if it's not a regular election, you're not going to get that many people coming out. I understand we got a primary.
And I also
but
think
it
that.
still doesn't carry the weight that the November election does.
Yeah, no, I agree with
Legally
that,
it
but I
does.
think,
I was gonna say, it depends on what somebody.
Did you
I
say
think
what?
when
It
the
carries the
judge-
same weight.
That I do? Yeah.
That no matter when it's voted on, it carries significant weight.
Yeah.
But I believe that when the judge was ruling on that originally, they were saying we had to have it on the next election date, which would have been in May, but we didn't have anything for a ballot, so it would have been a total cost on us to have it then. So by holding it off till August, that is something where we will have the primary election, so we would have the election electors and an election already, so there's not extra cost for us to add this in the August date. That's why it was good for us to hold it off until August instead of trying to do it in May.
I understand. I still just want.
And they agreed to that, right?
Yeah, I understand that,
So-
Larry. But I still would want to me to be a truer representation of what the people of this town think. And I think that's done by waiting until November. That's all.
Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of say in that. So I think August is the
I just
best,
want that to go on the record. That's
definitely.
Yeah.
where I think.
I'm sorry, Pat, are you done?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. As far as this language goes, I know that part of this was because what they're referring to in here is a much bigger thing. Will we be able to have that listed on the, as the voters come in, they have the board, we have a board up there with the ballots. We cannot have anything.
The only thing that can be listed is a sample of the ballot.
A sample of the ballot, okay.
Right.
Do we have any, if you know, do we have any right to, let's say, advertise on our own as a citizen?
Do you mean educate?
Sure.
Like a
Educate.
town hall to educate
Sure.
what this is about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we able to do something like that?
Yes, we can.
I'm pretty sure we also can publish the full text of the proposed ordinance in the paper too, beyond just the ballot language, so that the people know not just the ballot language, but also have the access to the full text. And we can probably also post that legally on our village website as well, I would think.
Yeah, so there's a copy of it here, and then we'll have a copy on file or available publicly in the village office for the duration, as far as I'm concerned, from now until it's voted on.
Just keep in mind, looking at the broad term, compare this to any other item that's on there. You absolutely are given the information to educate yourself and make a decision whether you're pro or con of anything.
Yeah.
So yes, you absolutely have a right, and you want your citizens to come to an election educated. And so, yes, we have every right to say, hey, this is what the ordinance looks like, make your decision.
And this is more of an idea, I guess. When I worked at a manufacturing plant, when the no smoking in buildings and vehicles, when all that started up about 20 years ago, inside the plant, we had what we called fish bowls. So anybody that wanted to smoke could go into the fish bowl and the air could get scrubbed before it came out. I guess that wouldn't work here because this is just to purchase recreational marijuana and take it home. Do it, so.
You're
Okay.
you're talking about if the facility opens.
Yeah, because I mean, if I remember correctly, you can't go in there, walk out, and spark it up, right? Or am I missing something? There's guidelines that they have to follow.
Well, just keep in mind, what we are focusing on is the ordinance.
Yeah, no, I
mean,
just
the
wanted to make
resolution
sure
that we
yeah.
are going to, we're looking at the language, we're not looking at, outside
Okay.
regulations and things like that. So just kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a,
But did you have anything else for this?
No, I just want to. Yeah, I'm glad we're gonna at least get something taken care of on this. So, because we can move on to bigger and better things then.
I do have something I would like to state around this, because I know I have concerns about the actual ballot language that they have, specifically because I think it oversteps their legal authority under the statute, and I also don't like the fact that they include right in the ordinance something that says we cannot, as a village, cannot modify it for a period of, 12 months? After it's adopted. And I would like to mention, and I believe this would be the case, that we raised that point, but they said, no, we cannot make a legal challenge like that. We cannot judge the legality of any ordinance, only whether the ballot language is appropriate or not. So that being the case, I do believe, and I would just like to have Ryan follow up to confirm this, it doesn't have to be answered tonight, but that if this does go on the ballot and it does get passed by the voters, we still would be able to challenge the legal basis of the ordinance as being not appropriate to the statute after it's passed. In other words, their clause saying we can't change it for a year. I think we could challenge that after the fact if it did pass.
What do you want Ryan to find out then, if we can challenge it?
Yeah, because this is just saying, does the village want to adopt the ordinance? But if the ordinance that is adopted by this is not, exceeds the authority that's granted within the statute, we can challenge the terms of that ordinance as it relates to something like, hey, we're not allowed to change it for a period of 12 months. If we say, no, we don't believe that's valid, so we want to make changes after.
What if we cannot challenge it then?
That's what I would like Ryan to
Say
follow.
no
Well,
citizens?
we still have to put it on the ballot.
Okay.
But I just want Ryan to follow up and confirm that if somehow it does pass, are we able to challenge some of the terms within that should not have been included? Because in the statute it says that you can only petition to set the number. It doesn't say anything about
Right,
allowing,
but we're just
setting all the other
passing
things that they have in that
this,
order.
Right, we're just doing this tonight. I
Yes,
think
so
we
for
have
tonight, we
a
just
lot
are
of
doing
stuff,
this.
a lot of it.
And I just want to
Well,
have Ryan follow up to see, are we able to legally challenge the actual ordinance that's linked to this after the fact, if it does happen to pass?
I'll be glad to follow up with our attorney about that tomorrow.
Okay.
Ryan, I apologize, I did not ask you earlier, because Larry just reminded me. Has the ballot language been approved by the township or the county?
It will be, they need a resolution from us first. Yep, so this is the first step, and then we'll share it with Township Clerk Blair, who runs our elections, and then we'll work through that process together with Oakland County, and it's a long road. It's not this isn't the end of this conversation tonight.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
It's kind of, I believe when everybody was here and we met with the lawyer, I believe what you're talking about that was brought up, and I believe that our attorney said that it was something that we could do, but we couldn't do it until it got passed, because we can't do anything for something that's not been passed. But I just, that was kind of eaten away, but I remember what you were talking about, so. Yeah, that's what I remember about that, because I thought it was kind of interesting as well, so.
Anyone have any other thoughts at this point? Any other comments?
Will we have then, going forward, will we have this on an upcoming agenda to discuss our next steps as far as town halls, education, if we're going to do an ad, what our plans are? Will we have that at an upcoming meeting and the agenda?
That's definitely a worthwhile conversation. It is January, and this would be on the August ballot, so I don't know if that's a timely conversation yet. I know I'm going to put some energy into getting this approved. The timeline for the August ballot is to have the language and everything associated with it by April.
Okay.
So that's where my focus,
Okay.
I prefer that's where my focus is.
Yep.
But it's definitely one we can have either in a meeting or in a closed session to talk about that as
Okay.
well, maybe, or meet with, I can ask our attorney about next steps there. I don't want to run into any gray areas.
Yeah.
Into legally budgeting and
All that good
legally,
stuff.
right, our guidelines are.
Yep.
No, that's a good idea.
And as
Thank you.
Mike has mentioned, Mr. Gilmer, a big important thing for all of us to remember is we represent the village on or off campus. We are to not give our personal comments in relation to the village. Make sure that they are,
I would-
What you're
personal-
saying is not giving our personal opinion as,
And so when people are
Trustee.
asking, why would the village do this?
Yes.
Sorry, can't answer that conversation.
so the best
More
thing
than
to
happy
do is say,
talk
as
to
a
you.
resident, this is what I'm against. Okay.
Just setting them off, at this point, I believe Mike still said you or I, correct?
Yes.
As to send off to say, hey, if you don't mind, talk to, which my response is the same thing. I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you because I can't. This is right now something that.
Yeah, I would like to mention though, to address what you're saying and also what Melody brought up. Our residents are free to form a committee, a political action committee, to go around and either in support of or opposition to any ballot proposition that comes up. So that happened during the sewer vote many years back. And it could happen, if the private residents wanted to form a committee to, educate and promote a particular view that they have, they're welcome to do that too. So, and I know that people in the community might want to become active and involved in that aspect of it.
Yeah, but that's why the education to me is
Yeah.
the most important up front, so that way when any committee forms like that, they have the right information and they're not going door to door giving the wrong information. And I don't care if you're for it, against it, I just want people to know what this means for the village, so when they go to vote, they know what they're voting for, that's all. Because I know when they took the petitions around, it was not explained what they were really trying to do. So, I don't want that happening again.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but we gotta stick to the resolution,
Yes.
not to
Yeah.
pass this point.
Yes.
And I know we all
No.
will be involved past this point as well, but,
Yeah. No,
is there
we're-
any other questions or comments on the resolution at this time?
I think I may have, and this is more educational part thing, but Brian, how many days before the election does an ordinance or resolution have to, you said April, but is it 81 days before the date of the
I believe that Rosalind is our authority on this, but I believe it is 81 days before the election. The ballot language and supporting documents and everything has to be approved and on file with the county board of canvassers.
And that's
Run
for
elections.
any type of, anything that's going on a ballot, so
Correct.
just so residents understand why this is happening the way it is.
Why we're doing it now.
Right, but keep in mind, our elections are run by the township, not by us.
Yes.
The ballot language goes to the township. The township has to approve it and run it through the township council or board
Yeah.
and their attorney.
Yep.
So it's not 81 days before we turn anything in, it's 81
Oh,
days
yeah,
before the county
exactly,
receives
yes.
all of that. Yeah.
And also, this one here is strictly for people that live in 6, right? Precinct,
Yes.
in precinct 6, which is Edinburgh Center.
Correct.
This is not a full-blown Brandon, Ortonville, this is just Ortonville.
That's right, just the village residents.
So I just wanted to bring that up, just, I guess, educational idea, purpose.
Perfect. Anything else? Resolution?
No.
Ready for a vote?
I just want to be clear on one thing. So what we're voting on is, and again, my sticking point is the date. So what we're voting on is that if we're okay with the people of this village voting on this on August 2022, as opposed to November, is that correct? So we're voting on August.
November isn't an option.
Yeah.
It was first available regular election, which
Actually-
was May.
No, sorry, if I could correct that. In September, the judge said on the November 2021
Right.
ballot,
And
which
we're
the
too
time
late.
had already passed, it was
Correct.
less than 81 days. So that's when we said, hold on, we need to get together. So our attorney and their attorney met several times over the last couple months and nailed down, it's gonna be, they met with the judge and the judge said it's either gonna be May or August, take your pick. So we had a little bit of say in that. I did a little straw poll and gauged enough to know that of the two, August is a more representative election. It's also the one where where there's at least one gubernatorial primary happening. Therefore, the expense is more than likely not going to fall on the village if it happens in August versus May. And then,
No, it's not.
Right.
There's
That was-
no additional
those are the
expense if you
options.
go in November either, am I correct?
no, November was never an
It
option.
wasn't an option.
No.
Why isn't it an option? You keep telling me.
The judge
what-
did not
The-
allow
It's,
that.
it's like COVID. It's-
The judge said take a pick, either May or August. Yeah,
I'm
the horse
stunned.
already left the
I'm
barn.
stunned.
We
I'm
don't
stunned.
get a lot of say. I know.
I'll just vote no, but I'm stunned on that. Because from an election standpoint, you want a lot of people coming out. It's as simple as that in my book. So, and if the citizens for action or whatever are okay with November, I don't know why a judge would have any say in that. November gives us plenty of time to get it set up. It's this language. I don't know why the judge is pointing it out that we can't do it that way. If the people that are proposing this would be okay with it.
They did, though. That's what the judge decided, and we're at their mercy.
Last call, anybody else? Questions, comments? And then we will vote. Anybody?
It's just like a village, school village thing, you know, just hidden, put it out there, when these people vote, recruit your yes votes, and get even in a minority. That's what I'm concerned with here. I'm done.
Thank you. Jenna, we are ready for you then, please. Any other questions for the vote? Does the motion need to be read back for anybody? Jenna, please, I'm sorry.
To read it backwards.
No, nobody said they need it read back.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
George,
No,
Price,
Yes. And that motion carries 4-1. Ryan, we appreciate your continued efforts on this and being very diligent and working well with Mr. Gilman.
Yep, I'll keep you apprised of next steps and next
You'll give us
actions.
surprise.
Yeah, apprised. No
Thank you
prize.
very much. A surprise. All right, next up is item number 4, which is our 2021-2022 proposed budget amendments. We'll start that with Ryan, please.
Yep, so your packet contains several pages of documents from the treasurer. The very first one is the key document to look at. It is the budget adjustments requested for the 2021-2022 budget. This first page is a summary. Throughout the rest of them, you'll see certain lines that are highlighted. Those correspond with the ones that are just listed on this first page. So as you flip through the several pages, you will see budget line items where we have either already exceeded our budgeted amount for various reasons, or where we expect that our initial budget is not going to be enough between now and the end of the 2021-2022 fiscal year, which ends at the end of June. So it is, it's my recommendation that the village council make a motion to adopt the 2021-2022 budget adjustments as presented.
So we're looking to entertain a motion. Looking to entertain a motion?
So you want the motion to read that, to accept the new budget allocation? Is that what you're looking for?
I'd say to adopt the budget adjustments as presented would be my first best guess at wordsmithing. If we wanted to make it a total revenue adjustments of $4,024.16, if you wanted to include that amount in your motion, that could be appropriate.
All right, that was what, $4,000?
And the state is
But that's just the general fund. There's also something in local streets,
Thank you, yes.
4,024.
which is a $1,367.50
Right.
as well.
Are those added together, or are we doing something?
Your pick. I'm sorry, there are 2 pages. Thank you.
You don't need them separated, right?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
And actually, revenue and expenditure adjustments balance out on it. So it's just a matter of,
Adjustments in the amount of
That's
4,000 plus.
5391.66. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to accept the budget adjustments in the amount of $5,391.66
Do you want the years then?
for the 2021 to 2022 budget.
support.
We have a motion on the table by trustee Nivelt, supported by trustee Hayden. Questions or comments at this time?
My only problem with this is that it's not with the numbers, it's how we just did it, because it's up here, it says Fund 101 General Fund, and this other one says Fund 203 Local Streets. I would just like the motion to be adjusted. I'd like to have them separate. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's why I asked, do you guys want to separate it together?
Because if we're not 100% sure, at least we're going by what each one says. So that's my main concern on it. I would just like them separate motions.
So if we just had it separated within the motion and mention the budget adjustment of $4,024.16 for general fund and $1367.50 for local streets for a total of what we had.
Sure, I'd like to just, be as specific as possible. So that's okay.
Okay, I'm okay with that amendment to the motion if you are, Melanie.
Jenna, no rush. When you're done, will you read it? We'll make sure that they still support it. I'll let you finish first.
Did you get all that?
She's got 15 pages there.
Okay, so I have to adopt the budget adjustments of $4,024.16 in the general fund and $1,367.50 for the local streets, for a total amount of $5,391.66.
For the
For,
budget,
yeah.
20, yeah,
The budget year, budget 2021.
perfect.
All right.
All right, does that work for you, Melanie, still?
Yes.
And Pat?
Yes.
Pat. Larry?
Yes.
Okay.
One more question.
Any other questions or comments? Go right ahead.
I just got- and I'm sorry, I'm very ignorant when it comes to the line numbers. I know what they're supposed to be, but the Fund 101, that's all, everything on a 101 line, that's all general fund. Everything on a 203 is for local streets, right?
Correct.
I'm not gonna find something in there for, like, say, parks on a 203.
Correct. Local streets and major streets have very specific account
Okay,
requirements and things.
okay. That's more for me, so thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Jenna, please.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Rice.
Yes. Thank you, that motion carries 5-0.
Right, so the plan is that we'll be talking budget a lot in the coming year. So budgeting is a year-round festival of fun. So next month, we're gonna be talking about some wish list items, and the following month, we'll be talking about a historic view of the budget with reenactments and all, as well as a first draft, a first blush at the 2022-23 budget. So I plan on inundating you all with budget information in the coming months.
We're gonna have that historic one at the old mill.
This stage right here.
Oh, there you go.
And are we going to start having, is our CIP coming?
Working on it.
Okay. 'Cause that would really
Roads are the
help with our
first
budget.
big chunk, and that's
CIP.
happening this week.
All right.
And so we thank Beth very much for putting this together, and we thank Ryan for staying on it and keeping us updated at the midpoint. Next up is the village manager's report, and I will send that over to Manager Massey.
All right, a couple of things. I'm going to try to go fast because I said it'd be a 2-hour meeting. The first item under village manager's report, you'll find the building department quarterly report. Any questions about this? Jenna has done a very good job of putting this together, including it for the planning commission to review as well. So just for your education, so you know what's going on. Any questions there?
Is, just on the backside, why is that 300 South Street, that's not a residence, is it?
It's not.
Which building is it? It sounds familiar, and I can't place it.
The former middle school.
This one, right? Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up is master plan update. I mostly included it in case there was public comment about it, so people could say those comments first and not at the end. The master plan, at the December meeting, the village council approved distribution of the master plan. It went out to neighboring municipalities. There's power companies, utilities, things like that. There's all kinds of people that that receive a master plan for comment, the county, the road commission, etc. Those were sent out on December 22nd with the help of Trustee Nivelt, who's also the planning commission secretary. And then entities have until February 23rd to provide comment. So we're in the middle of that period, but I just wanted to make note of it here because that closes before our next village council meeting. So perfect opportunity to remind you, any comments you have or would like to provide to me, please send them to me. Email is the easiest, but if you have a paper copy or anything like that, feel free to provide comment. Or if you know of other people or groups within Ortonville who would like to comment, please share that now is the time. A copy of it is available in the village office at any time. Questions on master plan update?
And that date was February what, 23rd?
23rd, yep. There will be some public hearings and things like that. They start with the planning commission. I think the village council gets to do one too prior to adoption. So upcoming future meetings, we'll be talking master plan. But we're very excited to keep that moving and get it done in the first quarter of 2022. Knock on wood. Next up is the memo regarding the employee annual review summary. I have not done a fantastic job of getting these done in a timely manner, so I apologize for that. As issues come up, we've handled them, but there's been very little and very sporadic time to have full evaluative conversations with employees. I've done the paperwork side of things. The tool I used that I shared with the personnel committee, it wasn't fantastic. So the personnel committee is going to be charged with developing a very Ortonville specific tool to evaluate employees going forward. But I'll be discussing this in more detail with the personnel committee. Any questions on employee annual reviews?
I know on this writing you haven't met formally, but have you met formally with everyone?
Not with everybody.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
Other questions? All right. Next up is the Michigan Municipal League fact sheet about municipal expenditures. It's not to rub anybody's nose in it or anything like that. We just wanted to provide some information about municipal expenditures. Some things are allowable, some things are not. So just to be clear with upcoming planning events and upcoming village activities, just so you are aware, there's all kinds of good information available to you. So any questions, you can refer to this or ask me and I'd be happy to hunt down the answer for you.
I noticed that plaques were one of the things that we're not allowed to do. Recognition plaques.
Well,
Should have started with
Now
that.
we know.
I believe if that's employees, that's not community.
No, planning commission did one for Larry
Okay,
Hayden
I'm
for.
sorry. I thought you meant for the upcoming
Yeah, they're all-
ideas.
So you gotta give it-
Gotcha.
What do I owe the village?
you gotta get
And, but it's good, I mean, it's perfect to know.
It's a good reminder, yep.
Yes, because, from here on out, if we want to commemorate someone's something, we will all just chip in.
Take a watch.
Yeah, and that was very minimal.
Pass the hat.
It was not costly, however, we want to do things right, so thank you for this information.
Any other questions on that one? All right. Next up is a zoning administrator certificate program flyer. I know that's a super exciting flyer. I've started this program through the MSU extension. We haven't had a zoning administrator certified in ever. So I noticed at least one former village manager in the training with me. So it's been a while since we had one. The class is no longer going to be offered in person. It's all virtual for obvious reasons. But it started last week. I'll have until sometime in March to finish the test. They sent me a binder that is 4 inches thick and all kinds of good stuff. So I look forward to learning and applying that knowledge here in the village as the zoning administrator, one of the many hats I wear. Our insurance company will also reimburse us nearly the full cost for the course because it reduces risk to have someone with this certification.
Oh,
So
that's great.
it'll be a good thing for us.
How'd you find that out? How'd you find out the insurance would do that?
They talk about it a little bit, and I talked to our insurance guy kind of a lot. They're very helpful.
I wouldn't have thought to ask the insurance, hey, you want to reimburse?
Yeah.
Just from that,
pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't have to use my whole training budget on one thing, which is
Right.
great. And then last, I wanted to mention, we talked about the sewer conversations earlier. Next Monday, there's a meeting between all the communities and County Executive Dave Coulter and Water Resource Commissioner Jim Nash will be in attendance. It's the first time we've had an audience with both of those groups. So, yeah, continued conversations there. Future conversations will also include Grand Blanc because the interceptor is coming from Genesee County, so they're going to be included in the conversations as well. I'll give a better update in the near future on all those conversations, but the sewer things are happening. I also applied for the Oakland County, I'm going to botch the name, but they have a grant program that, if you recall, we dedicated just over $40,000 from our ARP money to the study for sewers. So to do engineering, hire a bond attorney, get more information about what that would look like so that it's shovel ready. And this grant program will reimburse half of that money back to the village. So I applied for that last week with the help from the Water Resource Commission who's judging it. And we should be in good shape on that grant. But
When
I'll
did they
send you more info.
let you know as far as that grant?
It closes at the end of the month and they let us know, I want to say it's pretty early in February.
Oh, that's
They're
quick.
scoring,
That's quick.
they're,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
It's a grant provided by county ARP money to help with other things. So, yeah,
Who got cold tear to the table?
I'm not sure.
That's huge.
Yes. So I'm not sure what to expect, but he was,
Is it at Oakland County?
no, it's Zoom.
Oh, it's-
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah. But I will provide a more thorough update shortly in the coming week. And that is it for manager report.
That's right.
Unless you have questions.
That's it, that's all you got, come on.
Yeah.
I
9
have a
minutes.
We
question
appreciate
for you. You know, we did, last year, we revoked that one ordinance about the wildlife preservation park and all that. And I was wondering, can we do something to either cover or take down the signs that are on there? Because those are no longer valid rules.
We talk about it almost every planning commission meeting, and I keep forgetting to bring a wrench, but I'm just gonna do it. I've talked to our DPW guys in passing to do it, but they run in 1,000 directions, and I hate to trouble them with it. But yeah, those signs do need to go, those two.
I'm pretty sure we have a couple volunteers that will be on that tomorrow morning.
If you got a
Daylight.
socket set, you go right for it. Bring
Had
them.
Bob,
I request that you bring the signs to me. And you take them down.
Okay.
No, seriously, it's up to you. Would you like assistance taking them down, or do you want to wait till the guys are available?
If you want to do them, just bring me the signs. That's all I ask.
Okay.
We got that.
The bounty on those
Pat, are
signs.
you on that?
Oh, yeah, I got a good spot where I can take a sign down. Not big,
The posts stay, so you can't pull the whole thing
right
with
at
your
the corner-
truck.
Right
but-
at the corner, man. That one I can get down.
I thought you were gonna head up Mill Street.
I'll do that, I'll do that one tomorrow.
Okay.
There's two.
Bring the sign to the village office.
Just the sign, the post stays.
That's right.
Something will go on in the
New sign.
future.
New sign.
Don't forget the other
It's,
one.
it's probably a 9/16
Up Mill Street, there's
socket.
that other one,
Okay.
at the other entrance.
If it's walkable, I'll get there. Yeah, okay. For sure, the first one. Okay, and then Mill Street, you're saying?
DPW would love that assistance.
Oh, the hill one.
By the bench.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the trailhead,
Did they post one at the other end of the park too, a third? one?
Over near,
the tennis courts.
Rick,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Isn't there one over there too?
Yeah, I thought there was one
There
over there
was
too.
one over by the house, by the school over, like, where it was just weird, random, and that's been gone for several months. I don't know who took it down.
I didn't even notice
Or
that.
when it was taken down. Yeah,
So that one's already taken care of.
yeah.
Maybe it's down? It's not sitting there.
And
Could
you
be.
know, I just
I
know,
know.
I haven't noticed it in a couple of months, but I didn't actually walk there. I didn't do that.
All
I'd like
right.
to say the next time I'm over in that corner, but I mean,
I'll have to look
I mean, I can drive over. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's great. Okay.
So, are you all set, Ryan?
Good.
All right. Next item on our agenda is public comments. At this time, it is non-agenda items only. Keep in mind, you have 3 minutes. We would love to hear from you if you have anything that was not on our agenda. All right. And our last item is additional items from the trustees, and we will start on Melanie's side, please, this time.
I don't think I have anything to say. I'm very excited about Voltaire and the sewer initiative. Thank you. Keep it up, whoever's doing that. I appreciate it. That's it.
It's mostly Water Resource Commission. It's Brian Coburn who presented to us, is fantastic. He's a very good resource.
That's who, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, but man, let's just keep it going and let us know when we need to get active and involved as far as the community.
Thank you. Larry?
Just as always, I want to express my appreciation to our DPW crew for the wonderful job they do on these snow events we've had lately. I see them out there. They're out there, very promptly cleaning things up on the sidewalks and on the streets afterwards. And I hope our residents really appreciate the effort that they put into that, because they do a great job. That's it.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Tony, please.
A couple things. First, I want to thank everybody for the thoughts and well wishes after my little rear ending I took on December 30th. The other thing is we do have a movie schedule for the movies at Old Town Hall. We actually have 18 movies that we're going to be showing throughout the year, and an additional 2 will be out at the parks. This Saturday, the 29th, 7 p.m., the movie starts, and it will be Inside Out, and it's free as always. I think that's, well, and DPW guys and all of our public safety personnel. But yeah, that's about it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm good.
You're good. All right. The only other thing besides DPW is I definitely want to wish everybody a happy, healthy new year, and hopes that our community has a wonderful new year ahead. As we know, a lot of our members are planning wonderful things, and spring hits and we'll all be outside again. Angel?
Speaking of healthy, how's that finger?
Fabulous. That's all I have. So anything else, Ryan? Last ads?
Nothing.
Okay. It looks like we are waiting for a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Support?
Been doing them all night.
All right. We have a motion on the table by Trustee Nivelt, supported by Trustee Hayden. Questions or comments at this time? Hearing none. Jenna?
Randazzo?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Hayden?
Yes.
Nivelt?
Yes.
Bryce?
Yes. That motion carries 5-0. It is 8:49, and we adjourn. Have a good evening.
He is really good at